بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وبعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, I see the masjid is buzzing. I hope it's buzzing because of the recital of Surah Al-Kahf. As we know, alhamdulillah, every Friday that we said part of the sunan of the day of Jumu'ah, and that is to recite and occupy ourselves with recital of specifically a particular surah mentioned by our beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, man qara'a Surah Al-Kahfi, whoever recite in general Quran. And last week, 2 weeks ago, I spoke about the merit and the status of Al-Quran, where we have to modify our 2024 a year that we commit ourselves in reading Quran. And alhamdulillah, that I hope the Musadeen have listened to the Imam of the Masjid and you have committed yourself in reading the Quran. And when it comes to Jumu'ah, Nabi Muhammad says that generally you have to recite the Quran every day, you have to allocate for yourself a wird every day in reciting the Quran. But on a day of Jumu'ah, we specifically have to recite Surah Kahf. And if it is Jamaat Muslimin, that we still find people that are struggling really to recite the fluency in terms of rendering and reading Al-Quran, a person that really struggles in reading Quran, Allah rewards such a person twofold. The one that reads like fluently, that Allah only bless you with one reward. But if it is that the person like really at the Tauheed, that he struggles in reading Surah Kahf, then Allah reward you for your effort and Allah also then rewards you for your recital. So if it is, alhamdulillah, by entering the masjid, and I heard so much of sounds coming from the masjid, and I'm always assumed that you guys were busy in reciting Surah Al-Kahf, alhamdulillah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant you أَضَّاءَ لَهُ مِنَ النُّورِ مَا بَيْنَ الْجُمَعَتَيْنِ. That Allah will grant you, the day of Qiyamah, or Allah will grant you specifically in the dunya firstly, a nur that will illuminate you, that will be so bright between one Jumu'ah and the next Jumu'ah. So we need to try to inculcate this habit and sunnah of our beloved Rasulullah Jamaat Muslimin by reciting Surah Al-Kahf. And if it is that I cannot really recite, then at least then play a CD player or take out your phone and you make sure the day of Jumu'ah that you listen to Surah Al-Kahf. And it's very easy then to extend the next sunnah and habit on the day of Jumu'ah, and that is to say salawat on the beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If it is that you come into the masjid, make sure that you recite your 100 salawat. In the morning going to work, make sure that you recite your 100 salawat. Was a great scholar. It was known as one of the Ahad Qurra as-Sab'ah. It was known of one of the outstanding A'imma and Qaris of the 7 different modes of recital of Al-Quran. And his name was Imam Al-Nafi' Al-Madani. That Imam Al-Nafi' Al-Madani, that he was a great scholar, and because of he did not overnight become a scholar, but he was more a scholar because of his passion, because of his love for Al-Quran. And he had this deep desire and learning Al-Quran, and he studied Al-Quran for so many years and dedicating his time reading Al-Quran. So alhamdulillah, reached such a level that he started teaching Al-Quran. And he started his like lessons teaching immediately after Fajr. And students used to attend his classes and listening to him, and him in return listening to the students. So then one student, or many students have noticed, whenever they approach this great Imam, Imam Al-Nafi', when they approach him, they always find themselves in smelling very fragrant smells that I've never smelled before. And they built up the courage to ask the Sheikh and to ask Imam Al-Nafi' Al-Madani, that Imam, whenever we approach you, whenever we sit in your company, preparing ourselves to read Al-Quran, or when we're listening to you, that we always find the smell, this perfume smell. Wallahi, I've never ever smelled such a nice smell like this smell. That I'm asking, oh Imam, is that perhaps you have applied perfume? So Imam Al-Nafi', initially he did not want to reply. Initially he did not want to say, where does the smell come from? And he said, number one, firstly, I need to confirm this is not perfume. I've never owned perfume and I've never applied perfume to my body. But I will tell you guys one thing what I did. That I'm a person that's very passionate in reading Al-Quran. And when it comes to Jumu'ah specifically, that I love reading Surah Al-Kahf. And he said one day that I was so passionate in reading, I then dreamt about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that was always the Salihin and the Quran and the great Mashaykh and ulama, because of the attachment to Al-Quran, because of the attachment to the Sunnah of Rasulullah, that Allah blessed him. And he said, I sat in a company of Rasulullah and I found myself reading to Rasulullah Al-Quran. Can you imagine, Jamaat Muslimin, this great thawab and reward? He is reading Quran to Rasulullah. And he said, after the completion of he read a whole Khatam al-Quran to Rasulullah. And after the completion of the Khatam al-Quran, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam blew in his mouth. And he said, the moment Rasulullah blew in my mouth, after that I woke up. And whenever I started reading Al-Quran, people then inform me and tells me that this fragrance smell that emanates comes from my mouth, because of our beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Jama'at Muslimin, that's not my khutbah today. But my khutbah today is rather, again, to encourage us to read Al-Quran. We have started this brand this year 2024. And this year, this new millennium. And unfortunately, that what I've discovered, and I've entered and I've performed many contracts of nikahs in this particular period. And obviously we have a counseling sitting prior to the performance of the contract. And we ask the people, the parties that's getting married, okay, how are you going to provide your wife? And we ask certain requirements and this. And then what I've discovered, Jama'ah, that young people starting the marital journey of marriage on a note of debt. And that's very concerning, Jama'ah. Very, very concerning. And so I then started speaking, and I hear how people start this year of 2024 on a basis of debt. Where somebody gets married and he starts off his marital life in order to prepare for banquet and function, where he borrows money in order to have a beautiful function, starting his marital life off with debt. Then the person obviously need to provide, and he need to have a house for his wife in order to secure that she's safe and she'll have a roof over her head. Again, related and connected to debt. Then again you find some of the person, alhamdulillah, you have a house, so now automatically need a car. Again, Jama'atul Muslimin, that he finds himself then going forward, that he buys a car on credit, debt, again. And this, it just goes on and on, that even to a point, what I've noticed, that we find people, they're so eager and want to perform Hajj and they want to perform Umrah, and going on Umrah, the spiritual journey, also on debt. Where, wallahi Jama'ah, where people borrow money in order to go on the sacred and holy journey, again debt, Jama'at Muslimin. The saddest of all, if it is somebody does not have the money, and he borrows and he goes to somebody that's a person of amana with the intention that inshallah, I'm going to settle my debt. That's fine. Inshallah, we'll speak about it later. And you have the full niyat and intention that I'm going to settle my debt. But the worst of all, where you find somebody being wealthy, that person have all the money, but this person can buy whatever you need to buy, cash. He can buy the house, he can buy the car. Even on holidays, people are going on holidays. Some of the brothers I met now in the parking lot here, het op holiday gegaan, skuld holiday. Hy moet die hele jaar vat om die skuld met holiday af te betaal. Even going on holiday also debt. So the worst part is, Jama'ah, the worst where somebody have the money, that he have the money, but the person still buys on credit. He still buys on credit. And that is something so concerning and so worrying. And our beloved Nabi Muhammad والسلام, warns us, Jama'ah. Rasulullah warns us against that borrowing, putting ourselves in a position that you're owing, where the person cannot really even sleep comfortably, because you have this great concern and worry that you need to settle the debt. But the worst part is, that same person owing thousands and millions, hy slaap nog altyd lekker, with no concern, ma. Wallahi, that I know about people, business people, owing, and the person, and this is something very concerning. Inshallah, hopefully in future, I will try to prepare a khutbah when it comes to the Muslim businessman. When people say that I don't want to work for a Muslim, this is like really worrisome, Jama'ah. Especially when it comes to in the construction business. Especially in the construction business, where the construction guys, managers are owing the employees, people that work for them so hard, and he still relax and he still sleeps and he still have no problem, Jama'ah. And now just recently we have seen this debacle where this guy, he took money of the mu'tamireen, and he was sitting comfortably in front of the Kaaba, that's no concern, and he's owing so many people money, and the people have made all the necessary preparations to go for Umrah, and hy het niks gewaarig, Jama'ah. But if you again review what happened in the time of Rasulullah, there was two companions, the one's name was Abdul Rahman, I cannot come to the other one's name, and they had the agreement. And the agreement was that if it is that one of us die before the other, then you need to appear in my dream. Because of, when it comes to the barzakh, the life after death, when it comes to the grave and the questioning of the grave, that's all unseen. And we believe it with yaqeen because Nabi Muhammad ﷺ informed us about the reality of the grave. So now they had the agreement, if I die, then you have to appear in my dream. And you have to inform me and at least tell me about the questioning of the grave. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed, one particular sahabi, he passed away. So Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, he was like waiting for his brother that he had the agreement to appear in his dream to give him some form of assurance and some form of information about the questioning of the grave. And he waited for a week, and he waited for a month, and it went on to a whole year. And only after the completion of the year, the Sahabi appeared in his dream. And he inquired and asked him that we had the agreement that I said and you said if any of us die, then going to appear immediately. What is the reason that you have delayed for a whole year? The Sahabi responded and replied that I had a debt. And this debt that he owed, not a debt of 1 million, a debt of a few dinars, a few rands, if we have to compare it in our currency today. And I had an agreement with this person, I'm going to settle the debt. I'm not talking about somebody that takes money with no intention of wanting to settle. The Sahabi, you do find people like this in this dunya, Jama'ah. You come in front of you, then he's so humble that can you borrow me this amount of money? And then when it comes to repayment of this money, then I have no intention to repay it back. And that is also something very, very serious in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this Sahabi had the intention of wanting and going to settle the debt. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed that prior to settling the debt, he passed away. And because him not settling this debt, Allah, the Sahabi said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made that his questioning so difficult for him that his questioning only concluded after a year. Because of the debt that he owed to somebody. So it's very concerning, Jama'ah. It's not something that we can take for granted. It's not something that we can take for light. But it's something very, very serious, and especially this addresses to the younger ones that starting the journey and the marital journey. Do not start your journey with debt. And that was always the encouragement of our elders and our parents. They refuse. They refuse to buy something on credit. And I can still remember. And many times they did not own much. No, they refused. I'm not going to buy. If I cannot buy it cash, I'm not going to buy it. That was the standard. That was the standard practice of our predecessors and our elders and our parents. Once Jabir in the rest of following hadith, he said, Mata rajulun, a person, a sahabi, a companion, he passed away. So normally if any person passed away, it's our duty, it's our obligation. If he dies, then I have to wash him. Alhamdulillah, Allah grant teacher long life. In the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No benefit that Allah give you a long life. Look you nou agter die klopse daar in die kapie. How does that make sense? Man is 'n ou toppie, hy wil nog altyd dans daar. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So Allah bless him with long life, but utilize the life in doing haram. Utilizing his life in dancing. Is that our culture, Jamaat Muslimin? Soos 'n clown te lyk daar, in die warme son, it's so hot, 35 degrees. Dance, you dancing there. Wa na'udhu billah. Is that our culture? That's not our culture. So he spends his life, Allah grant teacher long life. But if Allah decree a teacher dies, I'm not going to say inshallah, maybe tomorrow, then we have to fulfill the duty and obligation of teacher, and I will have to make sure that I will wash him. Inshallah, make that, put that in a wasiyah, and tell your wife, if anything happened to me, then I must wash him. Inshallah, we will wash him with sunlight soap. Because not the Sheikh. Your Sheikh will wash with dove. But there's a Butachi who wash you with sunlight soap. And there's no guarantee you have a Butachi, but I wash you. So the Sahabi said, we have to fulfill the duty and obligation. We have to wash. That's the haqq and the right of every Majiet, that we have to wash him. And he said, we have fulfilled our duty, we wash as Majiet, the Sahabi. And we then hatna, and we balmed him, we applied perfume upon him, وَكَفَنَّاهُ, and we then shrouded him. And then, وَذَهَبْنَا بِهِ إِلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. And after this completion of the ghusl and the kafan, they proceeded to our beloved Rasulullah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, لِيُصَلِّي عَلَيْهِ. Just remember, Nabi Muhammad performing salah on this person. So this salah of Rasulullah is a token that Allah will accept this mediation of Rasulullah, Allah will grant the person Jannah. So the first thing Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam inquired, he asked, Hal alayhi daynun? Nabi Muhammad asked the companions, this Sahabi that passed away, does he have debt? And they responded, Qulna na'am ya Rasulullah, dinar. Not even a lot of money, dinar. Hy het net 2 dinars gegee. Not a lot, jama'ah. Van Sarafa, Nabi Muhammad then took a step back. In 2 narrations, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam refused to make salah upon him. And in another narration for riwayah, Nabi Muhammad then said, قَالَ صَلُّوا عَلَى صَاحِبِكُمْ. You guys made salah. So the Prophet did not perform salah, and instead he said the Sahaba and other companions need to make salah. So this is like really concerning. Imagine Nabi Muhammad refraining, this personality Rasulullah, refraining of performing salah on such a person, Jama'ah. That's something very, very concerning. So then Qatada, he then understood the seriousness of Rasulullah depriving this Sahabi of making salah upon him. He then took up the responsibility. He said, Ya Rasulullah, that I will fulfill the person's debt. I will settle the debt. And after Qatada making a commitment that he's going to settle the debt, Nabi Muhammad then moved forward and Rasulullah prayed on the Sahabi. Khas, Nabi Muhammad, mashallah, he prayed. But the following day, Rasulullah met up with Qatada and asking Qatada, did you settle the debt? Qatada said, Ya Rasulullah, guy he just passed away yesterday. I still need to find my bearings. I'm going to settle now. Nabi Muhammad didn't even wait for 2-3 days. Immediately after the second day of his demise, Nabi Muhammad just wanted to reconfirm, did you settle the debt? And he said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm going to settle it now. And after the third day, again Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked the Sahabi, Qatada, did you settle the debt? He said, Ya Rasulullah, I've settled the debt. Then Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, now qad ufiya gharim haqqahu. Only now you have fulfilled the haqq, the right of the debtor. And Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes further by saying, Al-ana barratta alayhi jilda. It's almost like only now you made his skin to be cool. Only now, after settling the debt, you made his skin to be cool, Jama'atul Muslimin. And he went on speaking about the seriousness of that we just take for granted, and we're just opening up everybody having a cell phone account, debt. Everybody have a Woolworths account, all these clothing accounts. There's no need. I'm not doing, if there's something that's needed, I have to, and I'm making sure, and obviously free of interest. Because we, nowadays, whatever we buy and purchase is interest. That's worse. I'm not talking about the interest loan. That's totally haram. I'm talking about a normal debt that he goes to a shop free of interest and borrowing, and you're buying on credit free of interest. That's something different, Jama'ah. But that's also concerning in eyes of our beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That Rasulullah goes further. And Ibn Majah, he narrates the following hadith, the Sahabi Ibn Umar radhiallahu anhuma, he said, Man mata wa alayhi dayn, dinar or dirham. Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that any person that dies, and he dies in such a manner that he have debt, dinar or dirham, that was a currency then, and he did not settle it, then Allah will settle it the day of Qiyamah, and Allah is not going to settle it with the currency of rand or the currency of dollars, but Allah, the day of Qiyamah, will settle it with the currency of hasanat, good deeds. So that means, if you did not settle your debt, and nobody is settling the debt on your behalf, the day of Qiyamah, Allah will settle it where Allah will take from your good deeds. Take from your good deeds. So imagine that no min goeie dade Boeta Ibrahim. Hoe sê men dit, Boeta Ibrahim? We're not saying that you have little good deeds. So imagine you have very few good deeds, and now they take from your good deeds, and you have so much of debt that did not settle. So what's going to happen now? Then they will take from the person's bad deeds, and they will add it upon you. What will your state be the day of Qiyamah, Jama'ah? Everybody knows the Mujahideen that fights in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's one of the highest of ranking and status. That our brothers that fighting in Palestine and throughout the world defending Islam and our Masjid Bayt al-Maqdis. A Sahabi came to our beloved Rasulullah and he asked, قال هل يغفر كل ذنب? He asked the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, that the person that fights in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and is sabr and is not running away from this battle, will Allah forgive all his sins? Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, initially the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said yes. And when the person was about to leave, Rasulullah informed him that Jibreel came to me, and Jibreel then said to me that Allah forgive all sins of a mujahid, except if even the mujahid, if you have a debt and did not settle the debt, Allah is not prepared to forgive that sin, Jama'ah. So this is something very, very serious. So how is it? And we understand, inshallah, we're going to make the intention 2024 that we're going to try and strive to settle all our debt, inshallah. And one of the greatest of debt, the debt to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many of us are Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So now the Sahabi, his name is Umama, Abu Umama. So Abu Umama, he entered, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came very early to the masjid prior to the allocated time of salah. And Rasulullah discovered that Abu Umama was sitting in the masjid. And Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam then asked Abu Umama, this is not the time for salah. You know, there's allocated time for salah that you entered the masjid prior to the time. Why is it that you are so early in a masjid and you're sitting here and you're so worried? And so Abu Umama responded and said, Ya Rasulullah, humumun lazimatni wa duyunun. That what forced me to come early to the masjid and not on the prescribed time salah, because of my anxiety and my worry of this dunya. And not only this worry, but also my debt. That I owe so many people so much of money, and I found myself overwhelmed because I need to settle my debt. So he was like really concerned and worried, and that's why he went to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Can Jamaat Muslimin, he did not go to a rich person, that he understood the owner of this mihrab, the owner of this masjid is Allah. Then Allah is the one that sees to the needs of the poor and the rich. Allah is the one that sees to the need of the Muslim and the non-Muslim. So he didn't go to a wealthy person to ask him for money, but he comes to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing that Allah is the king and Allah can settle our debts, Jama'ah. So Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is for us, Jama'ah, Rasulullah, they said to Abu Umama, Ya Aba Umama, or Ya Abi Umama. And this is for all the people that have debt and all the people that find themselves in difficulty. أَفَلَا أُعَلِّمُكَ كَلِمَاتٍ إِذَا قُلْتَهَا أَذْهَبَ اللَّهُ عَنْكَ هَمَّكَ وَقَضَاعَ عَنْكَ دَيْنَكَ. I'm going to teach you, should I not teach you, the following words. And if it is that you frequently recite the following words, And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove your distress, Allah will remove your worries, and Allah will make it easy for you to settle your debt. And Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, he himself used to constantly recite the following dua. In the early hours of the morning, standing up, Rasulullah recited the following du'as. Qala, Rasulullah said to him, إِذَا أَصْبَحْتَ, if you stand up early in the morning, وَإِذَا أَمْسَيْتَ, if it is that you went to go sleep early at night, then you say the following words with yaqeen and conviction, inshallah, then Allah is going to facilitate your difficulty, your anxiety, your distress, your worry, and your debt. Then you recite the following dua. Inshallah, let us memorize the dua with the intention that we're going to follow the habit of Rasulullah and also recite it abundantly. Rasulullah then said to him, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazani. No, Allah, I seek refuge in you, Ya Allah, min al-hammi. I seek refuge in you from any distress, from any worries. And that's why Muslims should not have anxiety, and Muslims should not go in a particular state or phase that he's so overwhelmed. And one particular brother, Wallahi Jama'ah, that he committed suicide, Muslim brother, that I know personally, and when they phoned me, I went to the family's house and he hanged himself because of this anxiety and this worry, financial burden and difficulty, and the debt, Wallahi, this person, the amount of debt that he accumulated and could not handle settling his debt, and he committed suicide. So this is a dua, asking Allah, oh Allah, I seek refuge in you, Ya Allah, from any distress and any worry, any form of grief, hazan. وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنَ الْعَجْزِ, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refuge in you from any form of weakness, wal-kasri, and laziness. And the dua is a kindness because Allah is very late. They don't even open up a window. Hulle slaap van die oggend tot die aand. So this dua they have to make every day. Hulle maak nie ons hulle kamers skoon nie. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kasal, to be lazy. وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنَ الْجُبْنِ, and I ask Allah refuge that this quality of cowardness, wal-bukhli, and being stingy, وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ غَلَبَةِ الدَّيْنِ, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection from ghalab, from this overwhelming of settling my debt. And this Sahabi, he said that when I woke up the next morning, immediately I recited the dua that Muhammad prescribed for me, and before night, wallahi, before me reaching night, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it possible for me to settle all my debt. Subhanallah. Why the Sahabi had this yaqeen and conviction that Allah is the one that settled our debts, Jama'ah. I will conclude where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to us, the Sahabi came and asked Rasulullah for a specific wasiyah. Nabi Muhammad then said to him, make dua, and always try aqilla min al-dhunubi, try to minimize your sin. Then Allah will grant you an easy passage leaving this world the day that you die. Aqilla min ad-dayni, and try to minimize your debt. Work off your debt. If it's something that you seriously, that maybe a house that you must have, obviously via Islamic financing, not via the riba system, then that's something that's a necessity. So try to minimize your debt. وَأَقِلَّ مِنَ الدَّيْنِ تَعِشْ حُرًّا, you will live like a freeman. Maar niks waar is die Jama'ah. Jy kan inrap, jy kan gaan vir Umrah because you can travel the world because you have no debt. Many of us, we cannot really travel because of there's so much of debt that I need to settle. So make dua, those that find themselves in this very difficult stage of life and unable to settle the debt, make dua, Allah grant them to settle the debt, inshallah. Also make dua for everybody knows about the incident that happened in Musember. It's a family of the wife of our technician, Ustaz Samir, where he went in order to save his brother, another family member. He went back again, and this young boy just completed his matric. He drowned, Jama'ah. Until now, we did not find the body. So one person drowned, the body came out, Muslim, and the other person that went in back in order to save him also, that he drowned, but till now they did not really find the body. Ya Allah, wallahi, Allah's life is a life of testing, Jama'ah. This dunya, it's almost like we're just waiting for our turns in order to receive our test from Allah. And more in so that how will we handle this test of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's very, very good. This dunya is a dunya filled with this. Last night, one of my colleagues, Sheikh Kamaldeen, also Qari of Quran, studied in Medina, Hafiz teacher. Also late last night, we got a notice. His son of 2 years old, he was playing like normal children playing, and he fell and knocked his head, and they took him to Red Cross, and they decreed that he passed away. He died, 2 years old. Ya Allah. So, subhanallah, Ya Allah, may Allah protect us, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our family. And if it is that Allah gives us a taste, that Allah should not give us a taste that we can't handle. Inshallah. Make dua that Allah grant the family of the body, they find the body so that they can fulfill their duty and responsibility of ghusl and salah on that particular person. So it's very difficult. You cannot really get closure, Jama'ah. Cannot really get closure because of there's no body yet. So make dua Allah grant us that they're going to get the body very soon, inshallah. ونكتفي بذلك وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. شكرا. Jamaat Muslimin, can we just one time move forward because there's a lot of people standing outside. So can we just one time follow up the saf from the front, my father?
إن الله وملائكته وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على محمد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر
الله
لا
أكبر.
إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا مولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. أوصيكم ونفسي أولا بتقوى الله، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. إخوتي عباد الله، يحذرنا الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الدين، فقد جاء في الحديث عن جابر ابن عبد الله قال: مات رجل فغسلناه وكفناه وذهبنا به إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ليصلي عليه، فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: هل عليه دين؟ فقلنا: نعم يا رسول الله، ديناران. فانصرف رسول الله لم يريد أن يصلي عليه. وفي رواية قال صلى الله عليه وسلم: صلوا على صاحبكم أنتم، هو لا يصلي عليه. فتحمل أبو قتادة فقال: يا رسول الله، هما علي. فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم: قد أوفي غريم حقه وبرئ منه الميت. وصلى عليه صلى الله عليه وسلم. فلما كان الغد يسأل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أبا قتادة: ماذا فعل بدينار؟ قال أبو قتادة: إنما توفي بالأمس يا رسول الله. ويوم الأمس قال: نعم. فقال النبي وأجاب النبي: الآن بردت عليه جلده. أقول قولي هذا، استغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.
اللهم صل وسلم وزد وتفضل وبارك بجلالك وجمالك على سيدنا واشرف المبارك سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم ورضي الله تبارك وتعالى عن كل صفات أجمعين.
الحمد لله، نحمده ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال تعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال تعالى أيضا: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، ودمر اليهود والنصارى أعداءك أعداء الدين. اللهم مزق جمعهم، اللهم دمر ديارهم، اللهم دمر ديارهم. عباد الله، إن الله يأمركم بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. أقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله العظيم وتواب الرحيم الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليك ونسألك التوبة والمغفرة وهداية لنا إنه التواب الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا نبينا مولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم ارحمنا بالقرآن العظيم اللهم استر علينا بالقرآن العظيم اللهم ارحم موتانا بالقرآن العظيم اللهم اغفر لهم وارحمهم وسكن في الجنة اللهم اغفر لهم وارحمهم وروح في الجنة. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك ربنا وتعالى يا ذا الجلال والإكرام سمعنا وطال غفرانك ربنا ولك المصير ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.